I'm Melissa Shea, the co-founder of Fashion Mingle, and we thank everybody for joining. Today we have our special guest is Denise Baca, who is a executive in the luxury fashion industry, and she's worked for lots of major companies like Neiman Marcus, Prada, Dolce & Gabbana, and Sony, and so we're really excited to pick her brain about the luxury industry and about how you succeed in the luxury industry, but also currently, the trends of, how the future in retail is going to turn out with COVID and everything happening. So we've got a wonderful panel today. We've got our regular Fashion Mingle Mastermind panelists. We've got Shirin from our Fashion Law. Hi, Shirin, how are you?
Hi, Melissa. Hi, ladies. Great to be here as always, and excited to hear all the information that we're going to hear from our special panelists today, and I look forward to contributing.
Yeah, and Shirin just went through a big photo shoot with one of our Fashion Mingle members who is a photographer. How was that experience, Shirin?
It was great. I mean, I have to admit, I'm not one of those that likes my pictures being taken. So it took a while to break into it, but it was amazing. And I can't wait to share all of the amazing photos from that. And Melissa has been helping me tremendously with getting it all loaded up into the website. So look forward to that.
Yeah, we should have the website ready for everybody to come and visit next week and see all the great tools and information that Shirin provides about business and estate planning and also fashion law. Okay, and we've got Noelle of True Model Management. Dale's out in California, and she's gonna have to make her way back to New York soon. Hi, Dale. How are you?
Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much for having me on the panel again this week. I'm really excited that Fashion Mingle is growing exponentially, and there's just a wealth of knowledge. So I'm really looking forward to hearing everyone today, and as Shirin said, contributing. So ask questions, get involved, and we're here to support everyone and learn from each other.
Yeah, and we've had some fun conversations recently. Dale actually has an amazing property in Midtown in New York City that she's opening up for co-hosts, for co-work spacing, which is an exciting new venture, and I think something that really the fashion industry needs. There's a lot of great businesses in that building, and so if you need co-working space or any subletting, let us know, because Dale's got some great opportunities there.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. It's been something we have been exploring for some time, but now this catalyst with COVID and bringing everyone, socially distant but together, because not all of us need to be in the office all the time now. So New York's still a great city, and we want to keep people coming here. So have your meetings here.
Absolutely. And, it's always the co-working situation that's very fashion focused has always been something that Fashion Mingle's been interested in. Dee and I have talked about it before because there's a lot of just random needs that people in the fashion industry have. And we're excited about working through this and seeing how we can provide those kinds of services.
Yeah, and one last thing, my passion, like yours, is connecting people. So we bring together, as Melissa was saying, our building is very fashion-centric, and there's factories there, photographers, stylists, pretty much anything you need for fashion. So even just being in the elevators, you meet contacts for business and for friendship. So yeah. We're looking forward to going back to the office soon.
Absolutely. The last time I was at Dale's offices, Catherine Schuller actually took me over there. Hi, Kat. How are you?
Hey, Hi, Melissa. Yeah, it's been central for us for a long time, and I am excited because WeWork is leaving the city, so we need shared office spaces. So you are right on the money, Dale, as usual. And the topic today is on everybody's mind, and everybody's asking about retail, where it's going, what's happening, big box retail's going out, new paradigms are coming in. I am so excited about this topic, and I'll really I'll be listening for many, many people who've been asking me questions about it. And I'm also launching a new enterprise called Wear Wardrobe. It's I'm doing the curvy curated closet for Wear Wardrobe, and it's a rental. It's a closet rental. And it was picked up by Airbnb because Airbnb is obviously the shared economy. But I'm very excited about the plus size aspect of this site now. It's kind of grown in the last year and a half with kind of a Sex in the City kind of fashionista closet rental. And Darsh Alphonse knows that plus size is very important to me. So he called me up and he said, "Would you do it?" And I said, "Sure." Curvy curated, here we come. So I'm excited. You know, it's just new stuff happening all the time, Melissa.
Absolutely. That has been the COVID silver lining, that everybody is just rethinking everything they've done and making changes to just be able to pivot. Hey Dee, how are you? Oh, we've got you unmuted. Let's unmute you. I think you have to do it on your side. There we go.
All right, can you hear me? Because I know my audio tends to be weird.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, well, anyway, guys, I'm excited to be here and share any wealth of knowledge that I have. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Yeah, except that you're working really, really hard on Times Square Fashion Week.
I know. That's why I put on my glasses. I'm so tired. I'm like, oh. But I love what I do, so I'm not complaining, and I'm very lucky to still be in business and have this opportunity to create something different.
Yeah, we're
you
really,
actually, and
really
Melissa's our executive producer. Fashion Mingle as well is our media partner. So we have some really great stuff. We've been working hard on getting updates. So Bella Magazine just did a write-up about us. We're going to come out in Fox and ABC next week. We booked that, and we have Downtown Magazine doing an article. So we have a lot of press covering pre and post event.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. That's cool. Okay, so today we have 3 guest panelists. So these are 3 people that we think you should know, and we think that they should also know Denise. So Randi, can you unmute yourself? And I'd love to introduce you.
Hi.
Hi, Randi. Randi Seiff is a branding expert, and you've got tons of years in the industry, and you work on product development with all kinds of brands. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I do design, branding, and product development from A to Z. So from the concept in your head right through finished and sitting on the shelf at retail and everything in between. So it's the whole process, the whole creative process, the design, the merchandising, the marketing, the branding, the communication and messaging strategies, the sourcing, the packaging, how it arrives at the doorstep for the customer, because that's their first touch point with the brand. And your package at their doorstep is really like your storefront. So that's just as important to start the experience right there. And then right through retail. So I go from A to Z.
That's fantastic. And you also are venturing into something new this fall. You're helping to launch a new brand that you're actually part owner of, right?
That's right. We're very excited. It's a brand called Polo Girl, and it's centered around empowering women and girls around the sport of polo. And it's an athleisure collection. It can be worn on the field and off the field. And we're very excited about it. We're aligning with equine therapy and weaving that social impact into the brand. to be more purposeful and have a real reason to exist other than being just a clothing brand. So with the women's empowerment and with sustainability and the equine therapy piece woven into our branding, we feel we have a unique position, and no one in that space is offering anything like that. And so we're very excited about it.
Very cool. I can't wait to see it.
Me too.
And actually, Randi and E2 need to get to know each other, because E2, I know you're looking for resources in Italy, and Randi has resources in Italy. So
Sure.
we'll connect you guys afterwards. But E2, go ahead and unmute. E2 is a celebrity shoe designer. He's designed shoes for Beyonce and Ken Stone and, you know, all kinds of amazing people. But he's also an accessory designer. He does interior design. He's basically just an incredibly creative person that can design and do anything. So how are you today, E2?
I'm great. Hi, Melissa. Hi, ladies. How are you today?
Great. So anything new going on for you this week?
In the factory, doing what I love. It's hard work, but when you love it, it's not work. And
Yeah.
I'm excited about this topic today because it's on everyone's lips. And everyone wants to know where we're going and how we're going to get there. I don't know if you saw the New York Times article saying that retail is unsustainable in the city. So I'm very interested to hear where we go and how we get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and finally we have Taline Assadourian, who is an amazing bridal wear and evening wear designer. Thanks for joining us today, Taline.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to hear what all the panelists have to say and ask some questions.
Yeah, so tell us about your brand.
So we're a relatively new brand. We started out about 3 years ago, and we do luxury, bridal, and special occasion attire. Everything's made locally, and I'm in Canada, so everything's made in Canada. Everything's hand finished, and basically our whole philosophy is to make sure that you have the best day that you possibly can, and we want to make sure that you fit in your outfit. We want to make sure that you're comfortable, you're stylish, you look beautiful, and you feel luxurious. So that's basically our whole motto.
Well, you do gorgeous work. You can see their gowns at talinedesigns.com. It's very, very, very beautiful work.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get to it today. Let's talk to Denise. How are you doing today, Denise?
Hi, fine. Thank you so much for having me.
So, you know, we've got like a list of things that we're going to talk about, but I just wanted to like, what's like on your top of mind with the situation that we're currently in? You know, you're in New York City, so you've got the perspective of what's happening in New York City. So I'd love to just, you know, hear what you think about the situation is and how we're going to adjust and survive retail, specifically in New York City.
Sure. Well, yes, you know, to E2's point and everybody's, it is a big topic, and there's a lot of, you know, ideas out there, and there's no crystal ball, unfortunately, but as unfortunately we're in a situation with the virus that's not even certain. Every day we're learning new things about it. So number one, I think, you know, flexibility, everybody needs to be very flexible at this point as much as they can. You know, start implementing these kinds of the thought process in the leadership teams, both the wholesale and the retail, because, you know, I mean, yes, they're talking about, you know, the vaccination, but nothing's for sure yet. So we'll see what happens. But I think that in terms of that respect, and then in terms of the retail and the wholesale, I mean, they both have to do new those, and I don't think retail's dead. I think that they need to readjust their sizes, and those are the, you know, the closures that we've seen. I mean, Barney's led the way pre-COVID, just because it was unsustainable. They were unsustainable, to your point, E2, because, you know, many factors, one of them being the rent and the negotiation, but also I think the markdown cadence and the product assortment and the exclusivity demands that were put in place. So, I mean, in general, many people do exclusivity demands. It's not just them. So I think it's a point of, you know, what do you do now? So I think number one, it's all about the customer. Without customers, we don't have sales, right? No, we're not here, or at least retail or wholesale. So the wholesalers need the retailers, and that we need the client. So I think the focus is the client, and how do you communicate with the client? So aside from, thank goodness that we're open now, the stores that are open
in New York City, and
in New York.
Are stores open all over the United States pretty much?
Pretty much. I know Intermix, they have a pretty robust, you know, key locations, but all of their stores are open 100%. So I'm not sure about every retailer, but I know they are, I think Saks as well, if I'm not mistaken, but I think California may have taken a hit because of the rise in cases. So, so number one is the client, and how are you approaching the client? And I think one of the big things is, you know, they really need to bite the bullet and invest in technology that you're going to reach the client in the proper way. And how do you humanize that as much as possible? Right. So we had technology before that many retailers were using, like Hero and Tulip, but they all had different ways of doing it. One was online. I think Tulip's not online, but Hero is online. So some retailers have both.
And what do those services provide?
They provide a connection to the client to show them the product and be able to sell it And some can be connected online, so you can access the inventory that you have online. Okay. And then just proper communication that, you know, or trying to connect the digital with the client. Instead of them sending a picture from their personal phone, it's organized in the platform, you know, for them to show it.
Yeah, so there's so many different types of companies out there in retail tech to help businesses sell more. Like so you said Hero, and like what are the top companies that are helping that?
Right, that I've heard right now, everybody's using Hero, Tulip, Salesforce is another clienteler. But again, these are pre-COVID. So I think the challenges there's something else out there right now. And I talked to Randi about it actually, because a colleague of mine has like an example. She's working on something right now, and she's already has certain retailers, but it's not to plug a brand, but there is something perhaps that you can do everything that's integrated. And also the key thing I think for the retailer is retain the information that you're gaining from contacting all these clients. So you're not losing it. Like there's a lot of platforms out there, for example, that use WeChat. They're just based on WeChat. I think it's, I forgot the name of it, but the brand doesn't get any of the information. Facebook does, right? They own WeChat. So it's how do you get, you know, what are they looking for? Or also, what is the seller telling, you know, how many times are they communicating with the client, that you can also capture that? Or what are the things that are being liked? And potentially even maybe incorporate social media in there so that you can get more information on your client, and then incorporate, you know, the next big thing that I'm sure you've heard is predictive analytics.
Yeah, and that need to really have personal contact with the customer and understand their needs. I mean, everybody's known that for a long time, whether you're an independent brand like Taline or you're a big company like Neiman Marcus, everybody's known it, but I don't think anybody was really prepared, you know, because this came out of nowhere. Right. And it's always one of those really expensive things, no matter where you are in your company. If you're a young business like Taline's business, you know, she's going to have to invest what's a lot of money to her to do what she needs to do. But for someone who's like Neiman Marcus, they're going to have to invest a fortune, and everybody always puts that off, right?
Right. The fashion industry in general, not even just technology, we're slow to change. I mean, we're still making clothes the same way we made it 150 years ago. That's another thing in the frontier. Like we need to change, not just supply chain, how it's made. And there's technology out there that's one of my, you know, things we can talk about that's it's going to happen. I mean, we need to change that as well, where maybe one example, again, another thing I know it's in the works is you can change it from a 5-step process, from, you know, the fiber to the fabric to the cutting to the sewing to 2-step potentially. So it's even building new industries, which is really amazing. So it's technology is the way to go. So in essence, I think, you know, these retailers and also wholesale, you need to have like a line on your P&L for testing. And just, you know, Seth Godin was saying, you know, if there's no room for failure, there's no room for success. So I think now it's really just like many other trends that were already boiling pre-COVID. This is one of them that's right to the forefront, because there's no foreseeing now when the clients will feel 100% safe to come out yet. Yes, we have the masks. Thank goodness the stores are open so we can start seeing some traction. But a lot of my colleagues and friends, they're not going out. They're still saying, if I don't need to go, I'm not going.
That's
And
definitely.
yeah. And e-commerce is not going to, in my opinion, I mean, it was what, maybe 12% of the overall retail business, and potentially it could grow up to 30, but what about the other 80? It's brick and mortar. So right now they're readjusting the size of sorry, go ahead.
Well, so e-commerce is generally only 12% of the total.
In general, right? And that's in the luxury arena. Don't quote me exactly, but it's max 15, 20. It's really a small percentage of these big guys. It's not a big amount. And why? Probably because they didn't focus on it for, you know, it was just like another contact the consumer. But I also think that's one of the reasons why brick and mortar is not going away. The human touch and the human engagement is key. So going back to what I was saying, how do you digitalize that? And how do you make it really personal? Not just like, oh, can you tell me again what size you are? No, I already know. You already told me. We're building a relationship. We're building, you know, so those kind of apps I think that people should look for, and maintaining this information and analytics to go forward with them, with a client. So that's one of the key things that you know, retailers.
You know, every independent brand, their dream, of course, is to be able to sell to a department store and, you know, do a wholesale deal. But what do you think is the reality of that situation? Should designers still try and reach out to buyers and try to get orders, or is that just not even on the table right now?
No, absolutely. I think that, you know, there's a lot of talk, like, you know, the big guys, Prada, Gucci, it was already, again, happening pre-COVID, but in terms of them focusing more on their retail, kind of making it, right now it's almost like an 80-20 retail wholesale split, even if they have concessions with all these partners. So that could potentially lead, you know, to some open up dollars, you know, for new brands to come in.
Oh, you think so? So you think there are some opportunities for new brands?
No, I think so. Yeah. I mean, one thing is, yes, I think retailers, going back a little bit, the buyer's job is to make a curated assortment for the brand that they work with, because essentially Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth Avenue, Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, they're all a brand itself. So that's the other thing, that the client, the customers, when you walk into a Bloomingdale's, you expect a certain kind of service. When you walk into a Nordstrom, you expect, because they're a brand. So that's why I don't think they're going to die. They trust the brand. So they trust the brand to have these curated assortments as well. And the buyers want to buy new things and different things. And I think going forward, they're going to need to differentiate themselves even more from each other as they close more locations. Like, you don't want to be cut and copy in every location, right? Aside from whether like Florida versus Michigan Avenue versus, you know, San Francisco. But I do think that of course there needs to be a balance, and that's where the merchants come in, right? In terms of they're still going to want the big guys, the Chanels, the Gucci, you know, but the balancing also of the new guys. And the new guys, to your earlier point, you know, they are the younger brands. They might not have the power to acquire customers, and the power meaning monetarily to acquire customers. So it's a great opportunity to be next to, you know, other key brands on Champs-Élysées, you know, potentially like Galeries Lafayette, or on Fifth Avenue in Bergdorf. You can be in their, you know, exploratory capsule. So I think it still has a lot of cachet. I think that like even Bergdorf, they have something called their BG Radar, where on purpose they go looking for new brands to bring them to the store, because it's their job to introduce them. You know, Moda Operandi, their Moda Operandi is introducing new brands that you know, in their trunk show platform. So no, I think there's still opportunity there, and there's a balance. It's just the brand needs to make sure it's different and it's not, you know, repeating themselves. And we can go into talking about brands as well.
So what luxury brands do you think are doing a good job right now and are going to survive this?
Well, gosh. Well, again, I don't have a crystal ball. If I could, I'd probably be working for them. But no, I think, you know, the one, like a good example, and I think it's everybody knows, is Gucci, and how when Alessandro Michele went in there and he did a 180 with the previous designer. He really was in touch with the culture and what the people, what the citizens, you know, what they were needing and what they were feeling, which was, you know, they've taken it to the next level now, and it's all about inclusivity. They just launched their beauty campaign, a young lady with Down syndrome. Okay. And they put it. So I think it's you know, the brands that their purpose is out in front. It's kind of like almost having a mission, and then you have a company. It's like,
yeah, there seems to, I mean, there's been quite a while, for quite some time, there's been like a real movement toward social impact businesses that of course have been led by the independent fashion industry. But are you seeing that adopted like in the luxury industry, like sincerely, or is it just like a marketing campaign?
Well, I think to your point, that's where they're going to win or lose the customer's loyalty, because all brands, luxury and small, they're under a microscope. So if they can, you know, they have so many touch points, be it Instagram or Facebook or online, and all the fashion shows, digital fashion shows that just happened. You know, what now the big next thing is what's happening in September. There's still going to be fashion shows and you know, digital and non-digital. So I think whoever is, the client's smart, and they know, they can feel if you're authentic or if you're not. And I think so whoever does that the best, you know, real, that really means it, or is gonna win. So I think, yeah, there's definitely brands I think that are doing that. I think you know, also contribution to your community, what's happening there, is also very important. So it's I think they'll know if you're not being real, and that's going to affect, you know, because it's really how the brand makes a person feel. And 85% of a purchaser's decision are made by how the brand makes you feel. It's not by a set of specs that you read on the side. So I mean, that was pre-COVID. It's a fact. It's like pre-COVID, but now it's like exacerbated. Now it's like really, 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 it's emotions and feelings, and clients are just being more selective as well. So.
Right. Well, let's open it up to our panel. And so panelists, let me know if you have a question, click your little hand icon. You know, now that, you know, we're just a few weeks away from, you know, Fashion Week season, you know, it's such an important time for brands to get in front of influencers and the media and editors and you know, the global audience. What do you think is going to happen in September? Have you been keeping your eye on what CFDA or IMG or Paris, Milan is planning to do?
Sorry, me?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes, in terms of the fashion calendar, absolutely. There's a big, okay, couple of months ago, everybody wanted to change the calendar. Marnie came out with a letter. Dries Van Noten signed. I think it's fashionrewiring.org, or no, yeah, fashionrewiring.org. They presented a whole calendar in terms of, and they had people sign a petition. It was
I signed it too.
You signed it. I signed it as well. It was fashion executives, independent designers, anybody in fashion really that wants to sign it. And now, you know, you kind of don't hear about it anymore, which worries me.
Yeah,
it's kind of the thing that happens, right? We, you know, Randi, yeah, we're talking about that. So it's everybody. And again, these are topics that we've been talking about, but it was boiling underneath, you know, the surface now, because with all these things that's happening, and it's coming up again. So I don't think it'll happen this year because the calendar's still following the same pattern. But yes, I think that what should happen in a way is have less shows, less markets, perhaps 2 markets, you know, per year, like where we were before. Have maybe 2 collections per market, depending on when you want to ship. And this will push out the markdowns, because the United States marks down before anybody else in the world, which causes a spiraling circle. And we're also shipping in the opposite season, because we needed, you know, we fell into the circle of, we need more product faster, so that, because the retailers wanted to capture that market share earlier. So, but now, so you get it too early, then I know I wait. Right now, I know fall is going to be marked down in December. So I'm just going to get my fall clothes in December, because going to be 60%.
And global warming's so weird now. You can like
Yeah.
buy stuff when it's on sale and still wear it for months.
That's the other thing, right? That's happening. It's this whole like, you know, seasonal clothing, right? That's the other opportunity that's out there as well. So I think hopefully, yes, we would have less, you know, less shows, less markdowns, and then ship at a different point where it makes more sense. But the big guys have to get in touch. One of the other things that retailers can do is collaboration. You know, one thing is technology, and an example is that the touch points to the client, but the collaboration is key. I mean, I think, you know, even now, the big guys, let's say the 15 largest asset management companies, they control half of the capital invested in the world. So if they collaborate to do something in, like, let's say the sustainability angle, like right now, the CEO, for example, the CEO of BlackRock, he sent out a letter to all the companies that he works with saying, if you're not sustainable to some capacity, we're not going to invest in you, in a nutshell. So that's pushing, and I think he has the biggest, he's number one in those asset management. So it's kind of pushing them to make a change, but it has to come from that part.
Pretty significant.
So
that's what
we can do it. Yeah, we can do it at, let's say, the retailers together, like refashioning.org, refashionwiring.org was more designers. So if we can collaborate on the retail side somehow and really start doing things together and pushing things together, I think, you know, that's key. But collaboration is another, I mean, I think that and it has to happen, because
that's something I think that's another COVID silver lining is that companies that wouldn't normally look for partnerships are definitely open. Everybody knows that everybody's got to work together for us to survive this.
Right. To make the big changes that are happening, we have to collaborate. Yeah. I mean, we can talk about it till our heads fall off, but if there's no action, concrete action, then, you know, again, because we've been talking about these things. So yeah, so I think that's the other, you know, really, you know, big thing that.
Right.
I think the customers will also remember those companies that had spoke to that authenticity during this COVID period. The customer's going to remember that and stay loyal to those brands.
Absolutely.
The brand has to stay true to it, because that authenticity and the transparency that the brand puts out there, that's what that's what the customer is reacting to, and that's what they want to see, and they will want to align with brands that share the same values that they do.
Absolutely. And the last big thing that companies can do, both wholesale and retail, it's purpose. You know, I think there's many case studies that, you know, the purpose-driven brand, it's not just about shareholders anymore. It's about the stakeholders. So really focusing, shareholders is one, but your consumers, your employees, and your community. And how is this company, how are you making a difference in these things? How are you taking care of it? How are you, and communicating that to Randy's point, and in a way that's, you know, that makes sense, and your customers will listen to that. And I think if you're a smaller brand, there's a lot of pressure, like, oh my God, I can't do that. That's too much. It's okay. You don't have to do it. Just start one thing, even if it's 20% of your fabrics that are sustainable, or that are come organic cotton, or that come of a socially responsible source. And then talk about that. And then our goals for 2022 are this, and you communicate that, and people will love that. I mean, so it's not like you have to worry so much about, because I think that's another thing. A lot of people worry about saying they're sustainable because they're not 100%. Like, no, just do one step to get there, baby steps.
It can be very overwhelming. And there's the UN has their sustainability development goals. They have, I think, 17 of them that they want to align by 2030, so that we can all be on par by 2030. And if everybody just picks one, just pick one of those things and just focus on the one that you can speak to, or that speaks to you, and that you feel passionate about, and that will drive you to work towards that goal. And even if it's just one of them, that puts you in that right direction, and you're moving the needle forward in the right direction. And that's if everybody did that, that would be amazing.
Yeah, there are companies
a lot that just picking one of the SDG goals. Something for everybody that they can implement.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there are companies that are doing that. I'm potentially working with a brand, and they pick two already, and they're like, this is how we're doing it. To your point, Randy. Exactly. Yeah.
Dale, you've got a question or comment?
Yeah, I have a question for Denise or anyone on the panel, really. I fully support everything you're saying about collaboration and purpose, and it's wonderful direction that we're moving. I feel like everyone needs more inspiration and different good companies to emulate. Like, in your experience, who would you say were great examples of like collaborations? And as far as the future of fashion shows, which shows or events have you seen or worked with that were very successful and you think we should build upon? Like, what are the future hold?
I mean, anybody? I mean, I think the examples of the shows, it's again, this last time it was mostly digital, what people did in June, and it really had a lackluster response, right? And I think it's because essentially you're watching a movie, so it's very hard to get the full effect that you would get from a real show. Yeah. And hearing a lot of designers speak, I really think they're not going to die. I think digital is more maybe on the buying side potentially, if we can do that, so we don't have to travel as much, or if we can get to that 2 times a year traveling calendar. But I think the show is still important, and I think for designers, because they're very creative, they're all about creating this whole world of who they are, right, as the creative director. So I think they're going to be here. It's just going to be done very differently. It's going to be done smaller, which will allow for them to have more spontaneity, which is great, and also potentially be more localized as well, as we were talking before, because they're not doing this 30,000 people shows that, you know, you kind of lose the essence of the art, more you're focused on logistics. So I think they'll stay. I think that the last one that was done was Mary Giacomo, that he just showed his collection, and in a field of wheat, I believe it was, and it was just absolutely beautiful. But that goes back to him. He's like the south of France, you know, so it's very representative of what he is, going back to authenticity. Mm-hmm. So I think that's and again, super creative because it's in nature and it's outside. And he did that previously in a lavender field, if you remember, with this pink, I'm sure you saw it. That was my favorite show, this pink runway. So, you know, so, but when you see it, you're like, oh my God, that's like, I mean, you're like, what is that? And so I think to do that, but in a smaller scale, I think is going to be the way to go. I mean, and digital, you know, some brands want to do digital. If you're more fashion, if you're more forward, obviously go the digital way.
There's no, I mean, when you're at a fashion show and the models are walking up and down the runway, it's a thrilling experience. Watching models walk up and down the runway on your computer is so boring.
No, really. After a while, you're like, how many hours can you sit in your pajamas watching 20 million shows?
Like,
you know,
like 5 seconds.
Part of the show is you're going out, you're seeing people, you're talking to people as well, you're smelling things, you're hearing things. You know. Yeah,
it's a very sensory experience. It's amazing. There's nothing like it. It's going to have to be more, I think they're going to have to put more effort into set design, a theme that, you know, just to make it visually interesting enough to get you to sit there for 10 minutes and watch the collection.
Right. Yeah, there's exciting. Yeah.
Fantastic if they could go ahead and get it deployed, where I know Dee's got a company that she's working with called Runway Buy, where you can actually you know, purchase from the runway, and everybody keeps talking about that, but because of the supply chain situation and this calendar, nobody's really getting the buy from the runway right yet, as far as I'm aware. Do you know any brands that are doing buy from the runway or have in the past?
From, you know, they buy the show, like you can buy right away after the runway. Yeah. I know, if I'm not mistaken, I think Burberry tried it a while back. I think they were the first ones because they're very technologically driven. Yeah. And I don't think don't quote me, I'm not sure on the numbers, how much they sold, but I don't think they continued it. So that tells you something.
Yeah, it's tough. It just doesn't work with the calendar and what people want now and all of the supply chain.
I think, right. And I think it's hard in that way. If you have it to buy immediately, that means you already made it, right? So that's also not very sustainable because you don't know what you're going to sell. So it's kind of like producing in a wasteful way. So I'm not sure if we can get down the process of creating something more on demand with like a week, you know, that could be amazing. So it's another opportunity for, you know, to make products that way.
Right. Dee, did you have something you wanted to share?
Yeah, Denise, so I'm so glad you shared all those very important points, because the reason I created Times Square Fashion Week was, you know, I feel like New York is the heart of the fashion industry, Fashion 7th Avenue. Like, it is like where everybody comes to either be a fashion designer or to create a career apart from Europe. And, you know, one of the things that I really saw is that, like you said, a lot of this New York Fashion Week, they always do the same thing. Like, they do the runway, or it's kind of like, it's just this, they don't think outside the box unless you have like a very creative person. And the reason we wanted to do this is, one, we wanted to obviously give hope to a lot of designers that we are in a pandemic, we're in the heart of New York, and we're actually doing an actual event in New York City. And we're doing live lookbooks throughout New York, you know?
Wow. I really want to learn more about it. To be honest, I wasn't. So I want to talk to you afterward. I love this.
And then
That's amazing.
I wanted Melissa on board because she's so innovative. You know, we see things the same way. And so, you know, one of the things we initiated is, you know, Times Square is known for its billboards, right?
Yes.
So because I have access to those billboards, we're able to do the collection on the billboards throughout New York City.
Wow, that's nice.
And we wanted to give that opportunity to designers, because the bottom line is that you could do a runway, you could have 3,000 people, but are you selling stuff?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, you know, the goal was, okay, we're going to create all this digital opportunity, even live stream, where we have an opportunity to show the collection on live stream, like Hulu, Netflix, and people are able to buy. So I just think that that is the future of fashion. And I think, you know, this opportunity that we have with Times Square Fashion Week, to actually have it in the middle of Times Square and be able to present it to the world, I think I'm excited. I know that people thought I was crazy, and they maybe still think I'm crazy that I'm doing this in the middle of a pandemic, but that is when great things are created. A lot of people who invented amazing things were called crazy. So I take that as a compliment.
Right. So you already have brands signed up for that are doing?
We're already talking to, you know, this morning Melissa got a brand that we're talking to, that they have some really great stuff happening. I have one other brand that's being signed today because we've been back and forth. But you know, I think one of the biggest things was that people are scared, like, wait, is this a real live event?
Yeah.
So, you know, we have to think outside the box. We're like, okay, we're going to implement all the COVID guidelines. You know, even the permit office, like, if it wasn't because I knew Manhattan Borough President, we wouldn't have gotten a permit. You know, she did us a personal favor, but we had to implement all those guidelines. And, you know, Melissa got a company by the name of Throw NYC to create a sustainable mask with the Times Square.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and then we're donating a portion of those proceeds to City Harvest, because we wanted to add a component of New York City. So I know that we're excited about this.
Well, I definitely want to learn more. So I'll call you later.
Okay.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Denise, what do you think that if brands are, you know, wanting to try and grow their online retail side, especially independent brands, because that's, you know, definitely a good portion of our audience. What do you think they need to get right with? I mean, fit's always an issue. You know, obviously, smaller brands and having that inventory. Like, what are some of the lessons you learned working for the big for the big major companies that you think smaller brands should understand?
I think okay, so the brands I work for, everything was made to order, so they didn't have, you know, like replenishment and things like that. Well, I take it back. Dolce did have a replenishment in their suiting program because it was black, just basic black suiting. But I think if I understand what you're saying, I mean, instead of fit, they should, if you have certain clients that are already wearing your brand, you should be consistent, obviously, in your, how you fit and how you know, because they know, oh, I'm a size 6 or I'm a size 4, like I'm a size 8, whatever size it is, like, you know that, and be consistent always, because the minute you start, like, think about it personally, the minute you start going to somewhere, you're like, wait, I'm not a 6 anymore, or I'm not a, now I have to be a 10. Like, you're not, you know, it needs to be.
You're gonna take 3 sizes into the dressing room, you know, so
right.
How is that gonna work when you're ordering online?
Exactly. That's the other thing. That's the other, with online, people always order two things because they never know their size. They return the other one. That's the other. So be consistent with, you know, with what you're, who you are, you know, in terms of the actual logistics of it. I think that one thing that I'm seeing now, potentially it could be, if you're made in New York and you can maybe make things in 5 weeks, that's something to talk about, because going back to what we were saying, in a way you're being sustainable. You're not making, you know, 20 something, putting online and then just pray that it sells. Like, you're not doing that. You're going to, like, hey, it's made to order, you know, and maybe you can have conversations also with your clients, like really keep in touch with them and, you know, get to know them if you can. Of course, if it's a direct-to-consumer site that you already have clients, you know, obviously goes back to your communication and your engagement with them. And what are you doing? Going back to the purpose, everything that we talked about in the beginning, I think to get your traction, you know, towards your website and keep acquiring, you know, new clients. It's first, if you're small, you're probably doing your own Instagram, maybe, or maybe you have somebody else doing it, but make sure you're engaging in that really, really well. Not just posting, but making sure you're answering questions, saying thank you, like the basics of, obviously, a lot of, you know, in terms of Instagram, and then going back to the authenticity, and really, in a way, a lot of people, you know, they're shy and they don't want to show. It's not like putting your whole personal life out there, but they do want to know who's making the brand and why are you making the brand and why is the brand important to you. Like maybe Taline, like you started your brand, I'm sure for wonderful reasons, and you know, so you know, they want to know that. That's where you get in touch, because you feel it, other people are feeling it as well.
The storytelling.
Going back to the storytelling, and I know I do it. If I look at a brand and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really like what they're saying, you know, and so then I start following them, and then all of a sudden, of course, I end up buying something. So I think going just really, they want to understand why you exist in a way, like why are you out there? What's your mission? You know,
Randi, you're a branding expert. Do you have some advice for brands who are selling?
I think the storytelling is key, really, because that's how the customer is going to connect with you. And I was just reading an article recently about how retailers are even trying to connect with their customers by making the brands that they carry, let's say the designers that they carry, bringing those designers closer to the customer. So they'll have like, they'll have an interview with the designer, and they'll really, you know, do it on video, on Zoom or whatever nowadays. And then the customer gets to know that person, like they're a real human being. It's not just a name on a label. They're a real human being, and then maybe they're inside the kitchen cooking, and you just learn that you share, that you both love to make cookies or something like that, and you feel that connection, and it's more human that way. And so then you're going to be drawn more to buy their product because you now feel a connection with them. And it's those stories that people remember. Stories, they don't remember anything else, but they remember the story. And that's the emotion, that's the connection. Like what you were saying before, Denise, about the humanizing factor. It's so true. And through stories, that's how you get there. So for any brand, large or small, it's really important to, you know, they say tell your why, but it's not just your why. That's important because that's why you exist, and maybe that's the problem you're solving, but it's also the how and the where and the what and the stories that you tell, and that's how they're going to connect with you, and you're going to connect with them.
Yeah. And if you have a social impact mission, I know Shirin did a great webinar for us in, I think it was June, about B corporations and, you know, if you're sustainable brands, how to really put that out on your website and make that your story.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. But it needs to be authentic. It needs to come from an authentic place, because there's a lot of companies that like to say that, because sustainability is like a buzzword right now, and transparency is a buzzword. And so a lot of companies are using the words, but they're not really backing it up with the genuine actions and behaviors. So the customer will see through that eventually, and it's backfired on brands in the past.
Yeah, for sure. You're under the microscope.
Careful.
Yeah, you're under this microscope right now. And again, it's this feeling. So, but yeah, and I would love to get maybe Itu's or Taline's or anybody's, Randi's, anybody's, because I think luxury right now, going back a little bit to luxury, it's changing. You know, what is luxury? So I think, you know, luxury can be perhaps a t-shirt on Instagram that everybody's wearing, and the highest, you know, maybe it's also, you know, gaming is a huge thing right now, that the luxury, Louis Vuitton did a collaboration with the gamers.
Yeah.
For the gamers not too long ago. It's this little untapped market out there that it's big, and they shop. So it's really being in touch with the culture, with, you know, having your hand to the beat of the culture. I think Virgil Abloh does an amazing job at this, and that's why they hired him as head director, you know, of Louis Vuitton's men's. But I think, you know, it could be a t-shirt. Also, luxuries for rent right now. We didn't have that, you know, how many years ago? Going back to the rental, somebody was mentioning a rental platform earlier. Exactly, luxury can be rented now, or you know, luxury is maybe on Instagram. You have there's been stories of, I forgot the name of the influencer, of course, but he's all about Gucci. And Gucci, and he's huge. So Gucci had to start working with him because he's pushing the needle. But it's not because Gucci chose him, you know? So I think it's a very different world out there, and it's how do you, you know, and Itu, I don't know, and I ask you because I know you work with a lot of celebrities. What do you think about, I would love to just understand what your clients are thinking in terms of the luxury, and are they looking more for perhaps emerging brands because they don't want to wear those big brands, or are they, I don't know, what
well, I think that luxury, the definition of luxury has changed significantly, and who wears luxury. So I think that the higher end brands like the Louis Vuittons or the Gucci's, or you'll see what happened with Dapper Dan, which is quite similar to what you were describing. He could not actually tap into that market. So he started using the fabrications and the leather and the logos. And then that market came to him because he was pushing the needle for that particular brand, which was Gucci. And now he's in collaboration with them. So now you see Gucci has become an urban staple. And I remember years ago where Gucci said they didn't want the urban community to wear the product. But because the sales are so high, that's changed. And now they're sort of doing these experimental test shops in urban communities. And they did it in Harlem. I think they did it in a couple of other states. But I think the definition and who wears luxury has changed significantly. And I think with Michelle Obama, the high-low dressing kind of aesthetic has impacted the retail market as well, because you can find someone wearing a Prada pair of shoes and then they're wearing an H&M t-shirt. And then they're wearing a Louis Vuitton belt. So it's the integration, and it's really I think the culture would describe it as a vibe, that feeling that's emoted from it. How does it make you feel? Because no matter what you wear, you still kind of want to look cool, but you also want to seem relevant and be conscious, because sustainability and transparency are buzzwords. So I think people are not just dressing, for instance, head to toe in Dolce & Gabbana. I think you see an integration of emerging designers, because everybody loves what's fresh, new, and exciting. And I think the silver lining in COVID is that it is creating room in the retail industry for designers like myself to have a stronger voice. Because we can be more flexible than a Neiman Marcus. We can switch quickly and easily adapt faster. And we have the audience of Instagram. So for me, that's how I target my clientele. And interestingly enough, I discussed with Melissa in the last panel, is that I have a lot of customers who are overseas, who are willing to come into New York because they're looking for something that's different and unique, so they could be the trailblazer where they reside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kat,
Yeah.
you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, going back to the high touch thing we were talking about, how do you feel, Dan, about the fact that we have this avatar system where you can create a body buddy that you can shop with, and that connects you to the merchandise a little bit more than just clicking on a sizing chart and ordering 3 and returning 2 and keeping 1, and it winds the other 2 wind up in a landfill. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that connective tissue, about the avatar systems that are now in play? And you know, we're adding them into the mix online.
Right. I think I haven't experienced it, so I don't have first-hand knowledge. But if I understand you, I guess you put in your measurements and then it creates an avatar for you, and then
or you can scan your body and
okay,
you know, you make an avatar like that.
Dale, you're in that on the modeling side, right, with the avatars?
Yeah,
Correct.
Dale and I have talked about this.
Yes, we have a body scanning machine at our office, and I also consult for several companies that you can scan by your phone and have images of your body, 3D avatar making, or like you had said, Denise, you can also plug in numbers and get like size predictions and recommendations from that. So there's multiple ways to do it. Everyone's really racing to get the best product out there. Some want it photorealistic, some just want it like a generic mannequin so you don't see every little bit of flaw or, or identify the person.
No, I think sorry. No, I think that is the future. I don't think, to your point, Dale, I don't think it's the right ones out there yet. You know, I think that, because I know from me, even personally, you can try on certain things, but I'm different sizes than everybody. So, and there's no universal cadence of scaling, like, you know, in terms of sizes. So I think
this would kind of eradicate that, Dean, because then you would have your avatar and it would shop through the sizing charts and say you're a 6 in this size in this brand, and you're an 8 in this brand. So it kind of hedges the bet, and then you don't have so many returns.
So many returns.
So it's, you know, I think it's coming. I've seen 3D look, body metrics, human solutions. You know, everyone's trying something. Enly, Melissa from Tom Savransky is with Enly and Savvy Tech. Mm-hmm. And I met him at a Fashion Mingle party, and we're working together. And you know, it's developing. You know, because it's a connective tissue.
Yeah, I think it's a great, you know, opportunity or something like really innovative. Like I don't know if you guys were part of the last Fashion Innovation. They had the, you know, the 3D runway show at the end, which it wasn't that one, because they did initially with I forgot the name of the brand right now, but they did one with it was really cool. Actually how they showed the body, and it was an avatar, but it wasn't.
Vor.
Which one?
Vor. It was the 3D showroom.
No, it's not Vor. Anyway, but if I'm not mistaken, sorry, but there's another, but they did it with a brand, and before the show, and it wasn't so robotic looking, because I think that one was robotic. It was really live. Like you could actually see like the movement of the body, and if even the motion, even like it was a woman, so I'm just gonna say, but even like she was walking, like her chest was moving, like you could see it very more natural. So it was very impressive. So to your point, going to the virtual, you know, reality, or maybe in Dale's world in terms of fashion shows, I mean, or modeling, you know, replacing models with, because maybe the future of that could be also, I think models could sell their face to add to.
No, they're doing that. Oh.
Are they doing that to, you know, to sell the face to the virtual model, you know, so that they're not actually there, but their faces, so that they can charge for that.
Yeah, it's recognizable too.
Awesome.
It's very exciting and very the wild, wild west here.
Right. Well, we've got to wrap up. Shirin, you have a question or point you want to make? Well, you're on, I'm sorry, you're on mute. There you go.
I just wanted to follow up with a point that Randi was making about the authenticity aspect of, you know, doing the sustainability goals, and a cautionary tale to all designers who are looking to work with, you know, major brands and, you know, collaborating on, you know, say, for example, a line that's more sustainable or more targeting, you know, nudes of all colors and shades. Make sure that if there's no true alignment with that company, that you don't sort of sell yourself off, because that will come back to haunt you. And I've had that happen with a client recently, where the company just wanted to sell this line because they wanted to be, you know, sustainable and show that they are racially diverse in their collection, but they were not true to it. And it's ended up backfiring to the independent client that was collaborating, and that was the idea that they brought to the company, to the major brand. So you know, in your negotiations and talks with the company that you may be collaborating on these sustainability goals and topics, if there's no true authenticity on their end, it's best to sort of step off and work on it on your own, or find someone else to collaborate with.
Yeah, and I mean, we love the idea of the collaborations and partnering, but it's super important that you do have your lawyer look over a contract. I know with Shirin, it's been really important for us to use her over the years to really, you know, make sure that we're thinking of all possible scenarios. If you're getting into something new that's a collaboration, you're not gonna think of everything, and so it is really helpful to talk to your attorney first.
Right. Can I ask something for Taline? Where do you get your designs? Are they only online?
Sorry, I'm unmuting. Actually, we don't do online, which is why it's very difficult in the current situation, because we're kind of having an issue with translating that, because our experience has been, especially for bridal and special occasion, they really want that experience. They want the designer's expertise too, and because we do a lot of custom design type of things, we create the product specifically for their body. So for them to be able to have that experience, you kind of have to be in the room with the designer, and we help you kind of style it and to make sure that you're happy with what you're looking for. So we're having a bit of a difficult time doing that online, because like you said, it's difficult to get people to pay a large price point for something that's again might not fit them, and it's for their wedding, and also because they're not really having weddings anymore right now. It's changed the dynamic of how they're having those events.
Right. I've heard though, sorry if we have time, because there isn't as many destination weddings, or because they have to spend, they don't have the 500 people can come to their wedding, they're actually willing to spend more on their dress.
Yes. We have noticed that. Yeah.
Yes. So I think you can run with that, because there's going to be all about the dress and the pictures.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I could see a whole virtual event for you. Like to do, you know, to make a party out of it and host a virtual event and show people what you have, and your audience is kind of captivated because they're getting married. So you have that customer already.
Yeah. Offer bridal makeovers or something.
Yeah. And maybe bring back the notion of the trousseau, you know?
Right.
That's an unheard of concept.
I spy a digital event.
Or even masks, Taline, you know, you can do your bridal match. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done it. We're doing the bridal mask thing. But I've noticed that we're having, like, I don't know, you two, if you have this problem as well, but I find that now people are not going out, so they're not really looking for special occasion type outfits anymore, because there's nowhere to go.
They're going on virtual
I do actually.
They're going on virtual dates.
But there, in New York at least, I know some people, if we go out to dinner, because I have gone out to dinner with friends, they do want to dress up. My colleagues, they're like, I mean, dress up a la summer, you know, still it's a summer dress, but they want to put their jewelry on, you know, and put makeup on.
I put jewelry on today for the first time in 5 months just for this, and it's not even
Right.
showing.
So I
It'll be
think,
weird.
yeah, it'll be more casual, but I think they want to, and people are having a lot of parties in their homes right now, and their dinners outside. So, and they still want to dress to impress. Like, I don't think that's going to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We need that. We definitely need that.
Yeah. I
Not
think
from the
it'll
waist
open
down.
up once it's done, but currently I think it's a little bit challenging because, again, like we're not doing it. We're actually transitioning to do more online currently. We're working on the website redevelopment, but as of right now, I mean, we're doing like one at a time clients coming in, but again, it's very different because they're wearing masks and there's protocols that are in place, and it's very different from what we've done, and the amount of people we can see is, again, it's changed quite a bit. So it's all about trying to get them to come and see what you're doing, or trying to get them to feel comfortable with that. It's very strange.
So,
Right.
I would say to Taline,
no, go ahead,
can you
E2.
hear me?
Yeah.
Well, our business model, Taline, I would say there's a similarity there, but
Yeah.
people always love to know about the experience. So I think one of the things that would help you expand your audience is to show them the fabrics, show them, you know, the customer making comments and how they feel about it. Because I did made to measure for high-end shoes, so
Yeah.
it's a different kind of client when you're charging $3,000, you know, as a starting point for something, and it can go higher. But what people would actually love is I would show the skins. You know, it's like going into a candy shop. You become enamored with the colors and what it could taste like, that sensory experience. And I think sharing that online would make more people actually gravitate to what you're doing.
Right.
Because you're making them feel special.
Yeah.
And getting involved in organizations as well, just making your name known. We can connect after if you'd like, and I'd love to catch up with you as well.
Yeah. That'd be great.
I'd love to speak with you about it. Because I can see doing an event for you.
Yeah.
You know, with it, I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think you got to really,
It's a lot.
you got everybody excited to.
Well, any help you can provide, I'm happy to.
Weddings are always a happy occasion.
Tayleen's going to be the guinea pig, right?
I'd love it. I'd love to be the guinea pig. It is the experimental stage right now, so anything we can try is great.
How long have you had the line?
We've been in business for about 3 years.
Okay.
So, but I've worked in the industry long before that. I just decided to do my own thing 3 years ago. So we've done okay. I mean, like, this is unprecedented times, so it's a little bit challenging because
For everybody.
Yeah.
For everybody.
So,
Except Lululemon. Lululemon did 22% better business.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Taline, you have a gold mine. You have a gold mine. You just have to think outside the box. I have some freaking things that are going through my mind right now, but I'll email you.
I'd love it. I would love it. Any help, any suggestions, I'd love it.
Awesome.
Right.
Well, everybody, you guys all have each other's email address. You can also, if you have any questions for our panelists, our Fashion Mingle members can log on to Fashion Mingle and find our members, search for them in the directory and send them any chat. You can send a message over chat to connect with them. You know, if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me, Melissa at fashionmingle.net, and we'd be happy to connect you with the right person. But thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It was a fun conversation. It's one that everybody's always interested in, house luxury.
Thank you so much. And I'm also consulting
Denise.
some brands. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, please do. But thank you, everyone. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.